Hi, my name is Jenny Sjöholm. I'm a conservation specialist and senior lecturer in urban design and conservation. And I will present some of my research in this presentation with a focus on how built heritage is managed in Kiruna's ongoing urban transformation. And doing so, I'm drawing on studies we've done looking at planning documents, media reporting, and observations on site. Kiruna is a mining town that was established in 1900. The mining company LKAB is a main employer, and the mining industry is still very important today. And the town currently has about 18,000 inhabitants, and it is located in a sparsely populated region. It is an established heritage site. In the 1870s, it was designated as a heritage site of national interest. And later on in 1990, the borders were defined to include the entire town, including the iron ore mountains. The Kiruna Council also have designated several historic environments, buildings and parks as being significant cultural heritage in a conservation plan adopted by the Council in 1984. But this heritage site is challenged by the ongoing urban transformation. The reason is that the main iron ore body, it stretches beneath the town, and as mining continues of the iron ore deposit, subsidence and cracks in the ground will have an effect on the buildings and the built environments on top of it. So the built environments will gradually transform into an industrial area, whereas new areas and new neighborhoods and the new town center will be developed in Kiruna. Currently, a new town center is being constructed a bit east of today's current town center, and according to time plan, the shift to the new town center will be during 2022. There is also a new town center a new company area being developed north of the current town. And as you can see on this map, you also have a gradual evacuation of neighborhoods closest to the mine as the mine keeps coming closer and closer. And these areas are transformed into a mine town park that will be function as a buffer zone during the urban transformation. The urban transformation was initiated in 2004 when the Kiruna Council issued a press release saying that we will move a town in order to enable the continued mining. And a lot of activities have been taking place since then. New sewer systems have been taken into place, new electricity supply systems, a new railway route has been taken into place, new main roads have been built, and so on and so forth. In 2013, there was an urban design competition for the new town center. The same year, there was an architectural competition for a new town hall, and the new town hall was inaugurated a couple of years ago on the site of the new town center. In 2015, the first building block was demolished, and the last couple of years, more and more buildings have been demolished. And some historic buildings have also been relocated. In this process, the main stakeholders negotiating what is happening with the historic environments are the Kiruna Council, the mining company, and on the state's behalf also the county administrative board. Now, these stakeholders, they have different views on how to manage historic buildings in the urban transformation process. There are disagreements, but there has also been changes of opinions over the time period the urban transformation has been going on about how the historic buildings should be managed in the urban transformation process. And what is important to point out that the only means of conservation is conservation by relocation. Preservation in situ is not an option in this case. So what can be done is to relocate buildings within the context of an evolving mining town that needs to be reshaped depending on the mining industry. And one issue has been how many buildings to relocate. Should it be just a few or a large part of the existing highlighted protected buildings? And there have been arguments about how many and which historic buildings to relocate in this process. And just to indicate what was once highlighted by the Kiruna Council in the Conservation Plan in the 1980s, initially in 2009 it was decided to move only about 20 buildings. In 2019, another 30 buildings or so were added to the list of buildings to be relocated during the entire urban transformation process. Some have been moved already, some to the nearby the new town centre and some to the new company area. What is quite obvious looking at the planning documents and what has been taking place is that the conservation goals have been unclear in the process, and different stakeholders have different understandings on what is needed in the conservation to maintain the integrity of the heritage site. And what is also gradually being the case is that the historic environment and the historic site of Kiruna is gradually being reduced to a few historic buildings in this urban transformation process. But in terms of heritage, it is easy to see that re-heritage is clearly taking place. Maybe primarily because focus in this urban transformation is on already designated built heritage. Everything that is being discussed is how to maintain and how to manage the already designated historic buildings. And about 50 of them have been or will be moved in the process. These buildings, they represent the oldest part of Kiruna. It is some of the oldest buildings in town. It is mostly, well, easily likable buildings. And it's also buildings that are representing the model town. As demolitions start to happen, there is a tendency that also non-protected buildings are highlighted before demolition. Not in a way saying or suggesting that they should be included as heritage or being relocated or anything of the kind. And it's not really initiated by the authorities, but residentials, people living in the area, maybe growing up in the areas, in the neighborhoods, they start to react and being, well, sad about the demolition that are at hand. So different activities tend to take place as a way to commemorate the areas and to document them and to somehow recognize them before its demolition. It's also obvious that de-heritagization is taking place in Kiruna in the urban transformation. There has been a lot of official heritage protected buildings that are being delisted in order to having them demolished. And that includes listed buildings protected by the Heritage Conservation Act, such as the old town hall and the former train station. Both were listed buildings protected by the state. The listing were revoked and the buildings have now been demolished. But also many buildings that previously was protected by the Kiruna Council in detailed development plans have been or will be demolished in the process.